All right, so for today, your math assignment are these pages in Go Math 10.3. So they're on the same concepts that we were learning yesterday: perpendicular, parallel, and intersecting lines. So you're going to use this figure, you're going to use this picture right over here to answer these two questions, 1 and 2. They gave you the answer for number 1, but let me go through it with you. Reading all the information on the page is often helpful when you get stuck. So if you forget what you're supposed to do, if you just jump down here and try to start working, that might work for you. It might not. If you're confused, the smartest thing to do is to go back and read all the information that's on the page, just like up here. So let's read that together. Number 1 says, name a pair of lines that appear to be perpendicular. Now, they're going to tell us here what perpendicular lines are, but if they didn't tell us, we could remember that perpendicular lines are lines that cross and form right angles where they intersect, just like these little squares are indicating to us here. So it says that perpendicular lines form right angles. Line AB, right here, AB, and EF, going this way, appear to be perpendicular. You could also say the same about CD and EF. They also appear to be perpendicular because they've given you this clue or this symbol here of right angle corners to mark the angles, to show you that all 4 of these angles where those lines intersect, all 4, they come together at right angles. Now they're asking you to find a pair of lines using this figure that appear to be parallel. Now we need to think. Parallel lines are lines that run next to each other but would never cross. Even if they continued a lot longer than what they showed you, they would not cross in the direction unless they somehow changed direction, but then they wouldn't be lines anymore, right? So let's assume that they're straight because they're lines and they would never cross, and you're going to name them. And if you remember, when you name a pair of lines that appear to be parallel, you're going to use the little symbol like that between the 2 letters that make up the one line that is in the parallel lines, and that would be A capital, B capital, with the little symbol for line over them, just like that. AB is parallel to, and that's that symbol right there. Sorry, I kind of went crazy there with my second line, to CD, and capital letters with a little symbol over the top. This is really helping me, and probably if you do this on ClassKick, helping you to learn how to manipulate the mouse better, or learn how to manipulate your trackpad or whatever you're using on. If you're on an iPad, if you can just write it there, boy, that would be really convenient and probably end up looking a lot better than my answer looks here. But I would be able to read this answer: AB, line AB is parallel to line CD, okay? Let me leave that up there. Draw and label the figure described. So here it says MN line and PQ line, or line PQ, intersecting at point R. So it doesn't say that they're perpendicular to each other, but they could be. They're just intersecting lines, which mean they cross at some point. And in this case, it says that the point where they cross is R, okay? Lines, they are lines, all of them, so they need to have arrows at the end to make sure that you're drawing your figures as accurately as you can, according to, using if you're doing ClassKick, if you're doing it with a pencil on a piece of paper, of course, it'll be a lot easier to draw it accurately, but you need to have the arrows on the ends to show me that they're lines. And then, of course, you need to put the rest of the points in there, okay? I'm not going to do that part for you. Again, you would need to draw 2 lines. This time, it's telling you that they're parallel to each other. So you're going to draw one line, WX, It's a line, it has arrows on each end, and it's parallel to line YZ that you draw. Here it's telling you that these two lines, again, they're lines, they have the symbol for line above them, are intersecting this time, okay? Down here, you're gonna use the street map for number 6 and 7. Here's your street map over here that you're using. Name 2 streets that intersect but do not appear to be perpendicular. Well, here's 2 right here. I could quickly just show you. Maple and Oak would be two streets that intersect but don't appear to be perpendicular. Here's another one. Oak and Birch would be another option, okay? Name 2 streets that appear to be parallel to each other. I'm gonna let you look at that and figure that out. Draw and label an example of 2 parallel lines that are perpendicular to a third line. So kind of like what's up here, you might draw something similar to what you have on this side of the map over here. All right, next page. Write a capital letter that appears to have perpendicular line segments. Think about capital letters that might have perpendicular line segments. In this figure, which pair, perpendicular line segments, remember, they meet and they form right angles to each other. They don't have to continue on after the right angle, remember that. They could stop where the right angles, where the 2 lines meet. They could stop right there and make a right angle. In the figure, which pair of line segments appear to be parallel? You're going to write that out down here using the 2 letters that make up that line segment with a symbol for line segment over it, and the symbol for parallel, which is like 2 L's next to each other, with the other 2 letters that make up the line segment that appear to be parallel with this line segment symbol over it. Make sure you write that the way it's asking you to write it. Okay, here's a spiral review. So let me see if there's any of these that you might have forgotten how to do. A right triangle, we just did that in the lesson last week, okay? Look back at your pages for 10.2 to help you remember that if you've forgotten. He drank more than half of the juice in his glass. What fraction of the juice could Mike have drunk? You're going to think of a fraction that is larger than 1/2. Any fraction you want that would be larger than 1/2. A school principal ordered 1,000 pencils. He gave an equal number to each of 7 teachers until he had given out as many as possible. How many pencils were left? 7 does not go into 1,000 equally. But when you do the division, 7 into 1,000 or 1,000 divided by 7, you have a remainder. They're asking you what that remainder is, how many pencils were left. A carton of juice contains 64 ounces. Miss Wilson bought 6 cartons of juice. How many ounces did she buy? She bought, each juice carton was 64 ounces and she got 6 of them. You need to find the total amount of ounces of juice that she bought. Okay, that is your math for today. Make sure you finish all of that and then take pictures of your work, or if you've done it on Classkick, just type in did on Classkick or on Classkick so that Mrs. Bergwell and I will know to look for your work there and not ask you for any pictures of any paperwork. All right, good luck. Watch the Math on the Spot video if you get stuck.